season this year. And again, we say good evening and welcome to Roots Connections on Q. This is episode number 25 of Roots Connections for today, May 25th, 2022, right here on Q95, the big station. And I am your host, Simone Mathieu, coming to you from Georgia. And again, we have a number of our graduating students from Dominica, and they're going to tell us all about their successes, their aspirations, and their concerns. So just want to remind Loik to turn on your camera so we can begin the conversation. And we want to welcome everyone who's joining us on Facebook and YouTube Live, as well as on Q95 Radio. So this evening, we are joined by Miss Samika Benjamin, the 2022 Spring valedictorian at Grambling State University in Louisiana. We are also joined by Mr. Loik Hassan Charles, the very first visually impaired Dominican to graduate with a bachelor's degree from the Incarnate World, San Antonio, Texas. Mr. Simeon Joseph, our educational consultant, should be joining us in just a little while. And we are joined by Miss Samantha Bazil, who's was successful with a bachelor's degree in accounting from Grambling State University. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Zidane Johnville, who earned a bachelor's degree in economics. So let us say good evening to our panel. Let us thank them for being here. And let us say congratulations as they unmute their mics and they tell us who they are with a brief introduction. So Loik, I will go ahead and start with you. Please introduce yourself.
Well, good evening. My name is Loik Charles. I am a visually impaired recent graduate from the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio, Texas, as previously stated, with a bachelor's in sociology. And I'm just here tonight for a great elevating conversation that can progress not just Dominica, but the world forward.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, Loik. Samantha, let's go over to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Bazil. I'm from Wesley. I recently graduated from the Grambling State University with a bachelor's in accounting, and I also did a minor concentration in computer information systems.
Yes, nice to meet you. Samika, over to you.
Hello, my name is Samika Benjamin. I am also from Wesley, and I graduated from the Grambling State University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice.
Yes, thank you for that. And not to mention, you are the valedictorian. So we have lots of questions for you surrounded that. And Zidane, over to you.
Good evening, Dominica and Caribbean Extension. Zidane Johnville. I'm from River Street, Roseau, graduating Southeast Missouri State University with an economics degree and minor in entrepreneurship.
Yes, nice to meet everyone. So again, we're very excited to have you guys with us this evening as we talk not only about your successes, but also about your aspirations, your dreams, and of course, your concerns for Dominica and the wider Caribbean. And by the way, before we get started, let me take a minute to thank everyone who continues to connect us to the wonderful guests that we are able to bring on this program. And today we are thanking Miss Abigail Christmas. We are thanking Dr. Randy Glean, as well as Mr. Tim Dura for connecting us to the guests who are joining us here this evening. So again, thank you for being here for another episode of Roots Connections on Q. As I mentioned before, we are live on Q95 Radio. We're also live on Facebook at Q95 FM Radio. So if you're listening on the radio and you would like to see our lovely guests this evening and you want to post a comment, you can join us on Facebook at Q95 FM Radio, as well as on YouTube on Q95 Radio. And also on Facebook, we're at Push Past 10, and we're looking forward to engaging with you. So as you come on in, and I can already see we have Carl Kofi James, greetings and blessings to the entire panel and host. Carl, lovely to see you. Peony Shirley, hello, Simone. I'm looking and listening. Thanks for being here. And we have Faye Allen. Big up everyone. So as you come on in, don't forget to share the live. Let everyone know that you're here. And since it is graduation season, I want to make sure we take this opportunity to celebrate all our graduates. So if there is someone special in your life who is graduating this year, I want you to go ahead and post the name of that person on our Facebook or YouTube Live. And if you want to call in later in the program, you can also mention that person's name so that we can celebrate them as well, because we want to ensure that we are saying congratulations to as many of our graduates as possible. So again, we're looking forward to engaging with you on Facebook and YouTube Live, as well as your call-ins towards the 9 o'clock hour. And we say good evening to Mr. G and the Q95 family as always. Thank you, Lambie, for being on the console to take the calls later in the program. Sherwin Norris, thank you for being our engineer who keeps us connected. And don't forget, if you miss any of our great Q95 programming, you can always jump on Q95DA.com. Again, Q95DA.com to view every episode of a program you may have missed. And for example, our last episode of Roots Connections was on the Dominican diaspora, the associations, and the roles they play in representing and promoting Dominica. So let's get the conversation on the way. We are still waiting for Mr. Simeon Joseph. Hopefully he will join us in just a little bit, but let us get the conversation on the way. And the first thing we want to explore this evening with our guest is the road towards attending university. And Loik, I would like to start with you on this particular topic because I cannot imagine that it was a very easy road for you. So I want to start the conversation with you, and we say good evening to Simeon Joseph, who just joined us. We will come back to you in a minute, Simeon. But Loik, kind of just tell us about your educational journey beginning in Dominica.
Well, I started in at Dominica. Well, would you like me to start from tertiary or primary?
Primary. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I started from the Berean Christian Academy, thanks to folks like Sister Tina and the Lifeline Ministries, the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities, and also the good folks at the Berean Christian Academy, Mrs. Thomas and the others. They were Miss Henderson. They were very instrumental in aiding me there, and they were very accepting of me. That went smoothly. I was able to go through using Braille, using my laptop, the Braille, the screen reader software called JAWS. I was able to use that to use the computer and get around, navigate, do my writing. I went through high school that way. Had all my books scanned through the APD, textbooks, and all everything. And then college, DSC was basically the same thing. I was more or less on my own sometimes for that too, with like just getting book PDFs online and the whole college also, and yeah, that's how it was.
Absolutely. Now, is this a common practice in Dominica, in your opinion, that students who are visually impaired are aided and assisted the way you are?
Yes,
Okay.
I do not know too many, but the few that I do know, that is the method in which because I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I was the first student who had to kind of go through those things and kind of experiment. They had to kind of experiment with those things. I was kind of like the trailblazer of sorts in that sense, So I
Mm-hmm.
in learning the braille, learning how to navigate with that, they sent a regular teacher to learn to be trained in braille so that she could then teach me braille, and so
Wow.
that aided that armed her with a new skill, which she could then pass
Mhm.
on to a child or to a few children, a few grandchildren. So
Oh, that is excellent. That is wonderful to hear that you were given that opportunity to learn and study using Braille and other technology
yeah,
to be able to
yes.
advance all the way to your bachelor's degree. So, again, congratulations. So, let us switch over to Mr. Simeon Joseph for just a minute. He's our veteran expert consultant, educational consultant. So, I always look to Simeon, and I'm always grateful that he takes time to join us on these programs just to lend his expertise and kind of just put everything into perspective for us. So, Simeon, we are into yet another graduation season. So, kind of just put into perspective, hundreds of Dominicans are graduating this year, and hundreds and thousands have graduated in the past. So, let's just start the conversation by you putting everything into perspective for us today. Unmute your mic. I think you're still muted. We may have to come back to you, Simeon. Work on unmuting your mic, but in the meantime, let's go over to Samika while Simeon unmutes.
Let's move. Are you
Yes,
hearing me
let's
now?
do
Are you
it.
hearing
Let's
me
do
now?
it, Simeon. Yes, we're good.
All right. So thank you very much, Simone, and good evening to Samika, Samantha, Zidane, and Loik. I would like to say that I'm not too familiar with the others. Sorry for joining in late, by the way. I was caught up in traffic. But Loik in particular is a young man that I must say, as an average Dominican, I'm very proud of. And one must commend him for his strides and his efforts and his determination and his persistence at where he has arrived at today. But similarly, while I commend Loic, I would also like to commend the Berean Academy, because my experience as an educator is that I have every student that I've met who has attended Berean Academy in my lifespan as an educator, I'd like to say that I'm very proud of what the Berean Academy has done, the students that they have produced. The not only in terms of their academics, in terms of their demeanor, in terms of their general attitude, their outlook of life, their personality, their interpersonal skills. I can name many students whom I know attended Berean Academy, and I've always admired the graduates of Berean Academy. So hats off to them. Hats off to them for facilitating Loic's journey. And congratulations to you, Loic. You are a pioneer. You have spearheaded, how you call it, a trail for many other Dominicans who may be physically challenged. And I'm sure you are also an inspiration. As a matter of fact, I know you are an inspiration. So hats off to you. But Simon, tonight we are looking at the topic of looking at the prospective world that our graduates will face. Okay, we are looking at the fact that when we look at the numbers of our students who have graduated from high school, you can even say to from maybe primary school soon and from university, um, the world in which they are journeying, okay, the doors in which they are going through new thresholds, spells a number of things, okay, particularly when you situate them in the context of Dominica. One of my greatest grievances about a lot of academics and graduates from Dominica is that we have had a lot of hundreds of Dominicans who have gone overseas to study, particularly the United States, and have not returned. And so the question we have to ask is why? Why is it that millions of dollars have been spent on many of our graduates to go overseas to study, and we don't derive the benefits of our investment? What are the reasons for this? What are the implications for this? Surely the implications are clear because it's a brain drain. But what are the reasons for that? What is the background that would not inspire or motivate our graduates to return home and to share their academia with the Dominican population? Some have, but we can say there are many more who have left and never returned than those who have returned? So that's the first question we have to ask. The second question we have to ask tonight is, when we look at the threshold, when we look at the new doors that these young people who are graduating from high school have to enter, we have to ask our question. The question is, what is the space? What is the platform that is being created for these young people to maximize their potential? Okay, be it going, leaving high school and going on to college, leaving college and going on to university, or the very fact of obtaining employment, being able to invest their knowledge in various fields, in various spheres, in various disciplines. And that's the question we have to ask. And I'm glad, I want to commend you for having these young people on the panel today. I always have to tell myself I don't belong there, because I mean, it is now their time, their space, their opportunity to share the platform. That's why tonight I don't want to speak too much. Got to hear from them. We need to hear from them. What do they think of the possibilities of having finished their education journey thus far and moving on to whatever sphere it is? So the questions we have to ask is, what opportunities are there in our country, Dominica, for our young people who have graduated from whatever educational institution to maximize their potential? Okay, what are the opportunities for their professional development? What are the opportunities for entrepreneurial explorations? What are the opportunities for educational advancement? What are the opportunities for employment? And so these are the questions we have to ask ourselves, because you see, in the realm of education and graduation is something called human resource development. Okay, that we have to, and the word human resource must not be taken lightly. These are deep rooted, this is a deep rooted terminology. These are two words that when we look at it, we're looking at human resource. Okay, how do we develop our people so that they can explore their fullest potential and maximize that? In other words, how do we develop our young people mentally, physically, professionally, so that when we when they are able, in other words, to reach a position in life where they can be successful, they are not encumbered, they are not facing any obstacles and difficulties, that the road before them is not laced with disappointments and discouragement, that it is they would be embarking on a plane, a trajectory that is leading them towards success. And the disappointments that they will encounter, the difficulties that they will encounter, will only be not barriers, but hurdles that they can overcome to strengthen them, to inspire them, that they can learn from, and that they can grow. So we have to look at the whole question of, in terms of human resource development, when we educate our people, when we form our people, when we train our people, how can they maximize their potential? And make no mistake about it, our graduates are embedded, are pregnant with all different types of resources. Okay, one of the worst situations in life is when a young person cannot have their candle lit and light that candle into the world out there. Okay, that when their dreams are snuffed, when their hopes are dashed, when their drive to be successful is frustrated, that is something that we have to critically examine if we are to thoroughly and analytically review what opportunities are there for our young people to maximize their potential so that they can become fully alive human beings in the world out there. This is the 21st century. This is 2022. We know that there are a myriad of opportunities for young people to develop themselves, for young people to learn. Simone, when I left high school and sixth from college, there were very fewer opportunities that we had than the young people today have. We had to struggle much more to obtain and to achieve where we wanted to achieve. And so doors have been opened. But in as much as the doors have been opened and the opportunities have widened, we have to conscientiously ask ourselves, what platform are we creating? What opportunities are we opening up? What foundations are we laying for our young people who have graduated from high school, from college, and from university to be able to tap into their potential, that resource base that they have developed, and become more thriving human beings and more successful citizens? And I think
Yeah,
these
and
are
I
the
think
questions we need to raise. I just like to raise at the very beginning of this
yeah.
discourse.
Yeah, very good questions, Simeon. Thank you so much. So it's all about talking about how do we maximize the potential of our young people. So I think it is great that we have four of them joining us today. So what I'd like to do, I would just want to go around the room right now and just kind of tell us about your educational journey. So Loik has already presented. So Samika, let's come over to you, and then Samantha and Zidane. Zidane. Not if I said it right. I'm working on his name. Yeah, so let's just go around the room and just tell us about your educational journey from Dominica to the college you eventually attended. And then what we would like to do as well is talk about your challenges and your successes along the way. So, Samika, let me come over to you.
Okay. So initially, the transition from Dominica to the United States, obviously, it was overwhelming. I didn't only have to transition into a new school, but a new country with different cultures and so on and so forth. However, I will have to give Grambling State University their credits because the environment was very much welcoming. I felt very much like at home, and I didn't feel like cast aside as an international. They were just like simple courtesy, like opening doors or greeting you, telling you hello. That was a norm on campus. Transitioning into class was also great. I had lots of good professors that not only that took an interest in me and encouraged me n- within the classroom and outside of the classroom, giving advice and so on and so forth. I
Oh, I think there's a feedback. Yeah, something else on? Try again. Try
okay,
again and see.
did you hear what I said?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so did you hear the first part of what I said?
A professor who
Okay.
took interest in you.
Yes, professors took interest in me and they gave me advice in and out of the classroom.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, so it was a welcoming environment. Is that what you're saying? Now, is there a Dominica Student Association or any association that you
Yes,
belonged to over there that assisted you?
yes. So, oh yes, that's what I was saying. Apart from the administrative staff, I also had family on campus. I had my
Mm.
cousin, so that also helped. In additionally, we have our international club, ISO, International Student Organization. I was also a member of that club. And we tried to bring the Caribbean to the United States. But this semester alone, I can speak, we had a lot of activities. There were cuisine. We had a day called International Day in CAF where we would have Dominican cuisine. We would cook our own food. And that way we could like, for that day, we could like embrace our Caribbean cuisines. Then it had, I think, where we had this thing in CAF again where this event also took place where we had to showcase our culture. So we had the Wop duet, like our own Creole Day kind of, where and we talk about different language, introducing it not only to Dominicans, but there are also other international students there. So we got to learn a lot about different cultures and stuff like that, not only within the Caribbean, but um out of the United States because it's international. Also, we also had a carnival, a mini carnival, where
Mm.
we dressed up, had our costumes, parade and stuff. So it was very much helped with my homesickness.
Mm-hmm.
International Student Organization was very much a good club
Mm-hmm.
assistance with transitioning to the United States.
Right. Thank you for that answer. Samantha, let me come over to you so you can tell us about your educational journey to date.
Okay, so I started in the Wesley Primary School, then I went to Northeast Comprehensive School, and then I went to Dominica State College. Now, I have to say thanks to Dominica State College because it also helped with my transition to Grambling State University because Grambling State University takes Dominica State College credits. So I did accounting in Dominica State College. I graduated in 2017 and I went to Grambling in 2020, spring 2020. So majority of my courses that I did in DSC was transferred to Grambling State University. So I didn't have to do 4 years for my bachelor's. I only had to do two. My transition to the US, well, at first it was a bit homesick because I'm not used to being away from home like that. I mean, it's easy to go for summer, like to go somewhere for summer, but when you have to actually move to go to school, it was a bit hard. But there are a lot of international students, as Samika said, on campus. So it really calms your nerves. The students are also friendly. The professors are really nice. They also help you to like get through school. So that helped a lot. And she did speak a lot about the International Student Organization. I was a part of it as well. I was a treasurer. So I was also hands on a lot of the activities that we did for international. So it also helped with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. Zidane. I got it right.
You definitely got it right.
Yes, thank you. Over to you for your journey.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, my journey started out in St. Mary's Primary. I graduated in 2010 in St. Mary's Primary. Moved over to St. Mary's Academy, where I graduated in 2015. Pursued associate's degree in economics and mathematics in Dominica State College, where I graduated in 2018. Um, then I moved to St. Lucia in 2018 for 2 years, where I worked, and then I went to Southeast Missouri in 2020, where I pursued my bachelor's degree. The transition from the Caribbean to Missouri was a quite unorthodox one because, unfortunately, for my school, there is no Caribbean culture or Caribbean students there. I believe I was the first student from the Caribbean to attend Southeast Missouri.
Mhm.
So there was no welcoming at all.
Wow.
I actually I actually landed in St. Louis, which is roughly 200 miles from Cape Girardeau, which is where the school is located. So when I landed in St. Louis, I remember clearly I had to actually sleep in the in the airport because there was just no welcoming whatsoever. It
Oh
was
my.
quite a challenge, but I definitely overcame it.
Mhm.
I I landed in January, which is in the winter, so there was definitely a culture shock as well. In
Mhm.
Missouri, it snows often, so that was definitely a culture shock. But
Mhm.
I came in January 2020 and graduated in 2021 of December. So
Wow. So what helped you to adjust to all these challenges?
I believe my last day in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, I was still adjusting. It was definitely a challenge. However, I set to university with a goal, and no matter what challenge it was, what impediment, I my intent was to overcome it no matter what. So whatever it was, whatever environment, whatever culture shock, even though there was no welcome, I definitely overcame it because I had my goal in mind.
And you're a true Dominican, that is how we approach the world. Whatever the challenge that comes our way, our minds are set on achieving something, and so we continue to persevere. So as we continue talking about challenge, Loik, let me come over to you so you can just tell us. And what I want to hear from you guys is, what were you not prepared for? So we have the International Students Associations that were very helpful in assisting Samantha and Samika. But what were you not prepared for, and how, like Zidane, did you adjust to your new environment? So, look, I'm sure you had some challenges that you were not expecting when you made the transition.
Well, as a matter of fact, I had a few challenges which were not necessarily what I wasn't prepared for, but
Mm-hmm.
more or less what I had no control over for a certain period of time. Because upon arriving or getting set up at school at the on campus in my dorm, after realizing that my dorm, the first dorm I selected was very far from where the cafeteria was at, and I essentially I was lucky that I had a roommate who was able to help me around and took me down to the cafeteria, so on and so forth. But for in the couple of weeks, I mean, I was actually moving along quite well, as a matter of fact. But then in a few weeks, like in 2 to 3 weeks, the school actually had a meeting with me, and they asked me like they actually wanted me to move to a closer room because they felt like they were they wanted me to be safe. The other thing is that my campus has shuttles, but they don't run on the weekends, so that is also something else. If I'm staying like basically 10 minutes or 8 to 10 minutes walking from the cafeteria, but it's still on campus, uh, and then if I don't have someone to take me, I more than likely may not be able to learn that route. That is a long route to learn in such a short space of time.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's one of it was a minor challenge. But I'm someone who's always I'm always well, I wouldn't say outgoing, but I'm a quite social person. I don't approach people for obvious reasons. I mean, I'm blind. I wouldn't know who I'm approaching, but
Right.
I do. I'm welcoming. I have conversation. I get to know people and I make friends and that's how I help myself and get my way around. I'm always a good I'm someone I'm a sociable person, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So
did your college have experience with other visually impaired students? And just kind of tell us, how did you navigate your way around the college?
my college did in fact have a few other. They had one going there while I was going there. As a matter of fact, she took a semester off, but I had met her eventually because we were doing music together at the time, music in the music program at the time, and so the school also has something called student disability services, which helps. It puts a lot of stipulations in place, like it gives the accommodation letters to each professors. You can go to them at any time. You can email them; they'll help you with various issues you may be having, try their best to help you. But in certain aspects, I mean, there's only so much they can do for you. So that's one thing. But I would always get around. Like I said, I mean, I had various friends that I could and people that I could depend on to guide me around. Friends
Right.
and acquaintances, I would say,
Right.
that I
Mm-hmm.
would who would assist me around, who would assist me and help me to get food, help me to go to the store. Just good friends who could assist me when I needed it.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. So now what we want to talk about next is your aspirations, your goals. Now that the degree is behind you, what is next for you? But before we do, I want to come over to Simeon because I want to know, Simeon, and I think we all want to know, can we better prepare our students for advanced education, for making that transition to college, for making that transition out of Dominica? But before we do, we have quite an audience on the Facebook Live. So we want to take a minute to just acknowledge everyone. And don't forget, as you're joining us on the Facebook Live, first of all, thank you for all the congratulations that you're posting for our students this evening. But don't forget, if you have someone who is graduating as well, we want to hear from you. So we see we have Clyde with us, Agnes, Alex, Powell, Bruno. Nice seeing you. We have, let's see, Catherine Lowe. Congratulations, all. Etna Marie LaRock. Big up Zidane. Thank you. Deborah, greetings, everyone. So we have quite an audience. So we will be sure to come back and engage with you on Facebook. But Simeon, are we doing enough to prepare our students for the next level?
Okay, so I would respond to that by saying a lot more can be done. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, in terms of are we preparing well enough? One of the things that, as an educator, I'm very proud of is the fact that our Dominican students seem to be uh, edging out many
Mm-hmm.
of our Caribbean counterparts at all levels of education. We
Absolutely.
look at CXC, we look at other CAPE exams, we look at other exams that our young people do. And I can say that from the perspective of the pedagogical, okay, because we have to look at it from different dimensions. Okay, so from the pedagogical perspective, which is the teaching and learning perspective, I think we are doing quite well as a country in terms of how we prepare our students academically. But that can be seen in two streams. One of and I will deal with that later. Let us first deal with the positive. So it seems to me that we have been able, especially from our secondary school perspective, to have a good output of students. It's a known fact statistically that we edge out many of the Caribbean countries in terms of our CXC examinations. Convent High School, SMA, Portsmouth Secondary School, Norfolk School, all our schools are doing very well. So from that perspective, we are giving them an adequate foundation upon which they can have academic achievement to allow them to matriculate to other universities. Okay, that's one thing I can say. One of the things I think that we need to do more of is in terms of the preparation of the whole person. Okay, because we need to understand that in the global world in which we live, we can't train our young people for Dominica. There is something I always used to tell my students: the world is bigger than Dominica. And I'm sure these young students here who have traveled, for instance, Zidane, the experience you went through, and Loik, and all the students can tell you, once you would have landed overseas, you see a completely different world from the little island that you left in terms of people's thinking, in terms of people's lifestyle, in terms of how people's perspective. Even you could say a simple thing like Dominicans like to sit down and mind people business and discuss people business. When you step on another level, these things hardly happen. Okay, I think what we need to do is better prepare our students for the wider world that they have to encounter. So, for instance, we need to ask ourselves certain questions, and let us take it all the way back to primary schools. And the word I want to use there is transition. So we need to first ask ourselves, from the primary school to the secondary school, how adequately do we prepare our students going to secondary school to make that transition? Because you see, for many of our students going to secondary school, it's a complete jump, it's a leap, it's a break. So what we need to begin to do, and I'm talking about preparation, is even when students are in grade 5 and grade 6 in their primary schools, we need to already begin to orient them as to what secondary education is like. So there needs to be that greater collaboration between the primary schools and the secondary schools, so that when our students go to secondary school, it's a smooth transition. They know what to expect. It's that they know the difference in learning. Because, many students will come and tell you, our teacher didn't teach me that, not knowing that secondary school is of a totally different approach. Similarly, the same thing has to be done, to my mind, to the Dominica State College, and now we have this other institute in Dominica that does CAPE. There is also a divide. There is also a gap between the secondary schools in Dominica and the Dominica State College. So I think the Dominica State College, as an entity, needs to become more involved in our secondary schools. Because there is no doubt, I think all of the students who have been to the State College will share with you the frustrations that they encountered at the Dominica State College, which seems to be an unending story, which seems to be a repeated frustration being expressed by many of our students who go to the State College, that takes a long time to settle down, that the world is different, that the process of management is something that is a bit frustrating, because their classes and their credits and their exams, I'm sure they can agree with me on that. But so one of the things I think we need to do from the Dominica State College perspective is to have greater outreach to our secondary schools. With our fourth and fifth formers, telling them about the programs, the process of the state college, everything that happens. So when they go to the state college, they are better able to make that transition and settle down faster. Because I think a lot of time is wasted at the state college, and many of our students complain about that. And I think it's only because that transition does not take place. In addition to which, Simon, I think some of the things we need to do with our students when they are going on to the state college and to university, we need to do things like critical thinking, okay? Analytical thinking, open discussions. We need to have our young people become more engaged in academia so that when they move on to university, their level of intellect is one of a higher level. Because I'll tell you one thing, one of my disappointments with state college students, some state college students, and even some of our recent graduates, is that their level of thinking and their mentality, to me, needs to be a little more advanced in terms of their ability to critically analyze things, their ability to express themselves, their ability, even their very vocabulary sometimes need to be widened and expanded in terms of how they discourse with things. Because you see, going to university is not just getting a piece of paper, which is sadly what it is coming to. Too many of our people who graduate from university, the focus is I have a bachelor's degree or I have a master's degree. And that's where it stops. The question you have to ask is, what contribution do they make to society? How do they advance the level of discourse and information and education around them? Okay? And these are the things we need to do. So I think in terms of the personal development, in terms of the cognitive development and expansion, in terms of things like the soft skills, and soft skills in life are very important. How do you communicate with people? How do you, I mean, when I heard Zidane telling me that he had to sleep in the airport, I remember when I went to Ireland in 1986, 84, right? And I was the only black student in a university of 15,000 people. Okay? I knew the culture shock that I was faced with. I know the adverse weather conditions in Galway, Ireland that I had to face because I was totally ignorant of the country that I was going to. And we talk about 2022, which is globalization. So how can we, even at the state college level, have greater partnership with international universities so that our students can become oriented to the type of universities that there are, the type of programs that there are, the location of those things, and the opportunities that are there for them while at college to prepare them to go. Because there are many students who finish college and do not yet know what they want to do post-college. And I think that is to prepare them. So before even leaving college, they will maybe not know what profession they want to go into, but they would have already been able to make up their minds to what discipline, what academic discipline, what professional discipline they want to follow. Because we have this state college in one last thing, where just one last point, where it seems to me 60-70% of the students are doing psychology or business. These classes are very large. How many psychologists can we have in the country? How many business students can we have in the country? When you think of the hundreds of disciplines that there are, is it because they are not aware? Could we do more to orient them to the different disciplines that there are, the different professions that there are, even before they enter college and while at college? So by the time they are through with college, they are already focused and directed into the direction that they want to go. So that would be my answer to the question. A lot can be done in terms of development, etc.
Right. And I think it's so important, Simeon. So thank you for raising these excellent points. And, you know, my daughter, who's only 10, she's already taken career assessments. So I think that you're right on track in terms of assessing the students very early. And I see Samantha smiling. I see Zidane nodding away. So I know they have a lot to contribute. But even before we talk about what next is for you, and Simeon raised some great points, including, do you feel that your experience away from Dominica in the wider world, did it change your worldview? Did you come to see the world differently from when you lived in Dominica? And I also want to say congratulations to the state college, the Dominica State College, because unfortunately, when me and maybe Simeon as well went to Sifokal, we did not receive transfer credits to go to university.
No,
So I
none.
want to say congratulations that the State College, and I'm hoping to engage with them on one of my programs. I want to say congratulations to them for ensuring that, when folks like Samantha and Samika went over to Grambling, they did not have to start from scratch, because I had to start from scratch. I got no transfer credits. So it is a step in the right direction. So as we get ready to talk about your dreams, your aspirations, let's go back to that question about, did your college experience change your worldview, Zidane?
Yes, my college experience definitely changed my worldview. I
And
think
in what way?
it gave me a very mature approach to life. Living the Caribbean, a young student, I would say, and going into that real world. Even though I was still a student, you need to mature really quick in order to adopt to a lot of moving things happening around you. You need to be able to be part of the real world, I should say. So it definitely changed me. It it's either you sink or swim. You need to grow up
Yep.
really quick in order to go forth with the times.
So it speaks very well of teaching our children to be independent from a very young age. Would you agree?
Very much so. Very much so.
Absolutely. Samantha?
I have to agree with Mr. Johnville. It did mature me from being in Dominica, because when you're in Dominica, you live with your family, but when you get to go to school, you're on your own. So you're responsible for your time management. You're responsible for yourself at that point. You have to ensure that you get up for either work or for school, and it gives you a more mature mind. So you're able to see life by yourself. Like, how do you live in the real world? How will you live after school? So I have to say it matured me a bit from when I was in Dominica to now.
Right, because think about it, in Dominica, you have your parents paying your bills. You don't have to keep track of, when your phone is due, or when your lights payment is due. And then when you're on your own, you essentially have to do it all. So, Samika, as I come over to you for the same question, I wanted to tell you, and again, congratulations on being valedictorian. So, how were you able to achieve that success? So two questions for you. It changed your changing worldview and your success as valedictorian.
Okay, my experience at the university helped mature me, as Samantha just said. You are away from your family, so it helped me to be a better decision maker, which is one of the things I struggle with. If you have to make a decision, you say mommy, or you ask your sister for help. In that moment, my I had to make decisions, on spot decisions, or sometimes whether it be minor or big decisions. It helped me to be a better critical thinker, as Mr. Simeon pointed out, that is one thing that we should, as young people, develop critical and analytical skills. And yes, okay, so I think that also had a reason as to why I was valedictorian.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my own. If I failed, it was my fault. So that
Yep.
put a lot of pressure on me. And I also had like to make my family proud and God, because through Christ all things are possible. And there are times where I felt overwhelmed and frustrated, but if you cannot do it, you go down on your knees and you pray, and it helps. So I encourage everybody, you can do it. If you believe in yourself, nothing is impossible.
Yes, absolutely. Very well said. And Loik, speaking of frustration, did you ever experience frustration to the point where you were thinking, oh my God, this is just certainly too much? So answer for us any frustrations you may have faced, as well as, did your college experience change your worldview?
Well, yes, I did face like primarily with certain times when funds were running low. I'm sure that my other colleagues can attest to that very well. When your funds running low and you have to do what you have to do to get by and so on as a student, So yeah, that's one of the main challenges as well as those mentioned, And what's the other question? I'm sorry.
And frustrations?
Oh well, yes, that was the frustrations
And
with
worldview?
finance
Did it
worldview.
change your
Oh,
world?
my worldview, definitely, definitely. Because first of all, one of the biggest and most important things, well, to me about, or the things I like the most about my school is that I got to meet students from around the world, like international students from around the world, and kind of like bond with them, or kind of get to know or understand, connect with them on a similar platform, or in a similar, we had something in common, in other words. So that was something that I was very keen on. I was really really happy about that. Well, in a way, of course, that I got to connect with like-minded students from different parts of the world. But yes, it did force me to shake up and buckle up. Although I was thankfully, the way my mom raised me, I was always an independent young blind person from since I was a young guy. So
Mhm.
I I could manage quite well. And what I can't, I mean, thankfully I have people for now around to assist. So
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the question on everyone's mind in the audience as we talk about what is next for you, and Simeon kind of hinted to it. Who among you is returning to Dominica to seek employment? Where will you be seeking employment? What is next for you? So, just a general question in terms of what is next for you. Are your plans to return to Dominica? And if you do plan to return to Dominica, what do you think are your prospects for employment? And if you don't plan on going back to Dominica, what are you looking at for your future? So the floor is open. Anyone wants to go first?
well, yes, I would like to go first, even if I just spoke, if that's okay.
That's okay.
So my my future, well, actually right now I'm currently, so I applied for what is called OPT, which is
Mhm.
optional practical training. It enables an international student to remain in the US for a year after graduating legally, even if they may have some form of student visa, whether if F1 or J1, to gain employment. They have a certain amount of time, however, after which, like for instance, I believe it's 60 to 90 days, I forgot what it was, and after that, if you haven't been able to land anything, then you would need to exit the states. But I'm currently looking for something in the line of social work, something to do with either counseling or um, something of the sort, um, to do with youth, because I'm very much for the empowerment of the youth and also the differently able community, not just regionally or locally in Dominica, but globally as well, as much as I can. And would, I am, my primary goal, if this, obviously, if this OPT had falls through, is to come. I would like to come back and contribute to my country, because I
Mhm.
mean, Dominica is a country, as Mr. Joseph rightfully puts it, there's a lot of room for improvement in a lot of areas. So education being one of them. Education is one of the things that I'm, and when I say, oh, sorry, not economics, but social, just social equality. That's something that I always am interested in, especially
Mhm.
being someone from a vulnerable group, or you would say more than one vulnerable group, being a disabled person. And as since I'm in the US, being an international is, I would consider as another vulnerable group.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's that part of my goal. So I guess I would say I kind of look at it as covering all bases. I have a plan
Mhm.
for staying here, and I have a plan for if that also falls through. But my plan, that's not a plan B, that's just my second plan A.
Sounds good. Simeon, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just a question. Can we find out over the majors? What did each of them major in?
Yes, let's have a repeat
What
of
is
your
the
majors. Loik, your
My
major?
major, oh sorry, my major is what's sociology with a minor in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Zidane?
My major is economics with a minor in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Samantha? You're listening, Simeon. Very important
Yeah, I
majors.
am. I am. Yeah.
Accounting with a minor in computer information systems.
All skills we need. Samika?
Criminal justice.
All right, so
What's that?
let's go back to criminal
What she did?
justice.
What's
Criminal
oh, criminal
justice.
justice? Ah, that's
All fields
interesting.
we need. So let's go back to the question, and then Simeon will come to you for your thoughts. Zidane, what are your plans, your aspiration, your dreams, your hopes for yourself?
Well, Mr. Joseph posed the question as to why do we not come back after we graduate. He also mentioned that the bachelor degree, master degree, whatever you're aspiring for is just a piece of paper, and I believe that is rightfully so. Education doesn't end after you get that piece of paper, especially for
Hmm.
me. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics. However, although related, the field that I am currently in is not economic related. There are ties, however, I'm solely in the finance field. Mr. Joseph also spoke about students going to seek tertiary level education and they do not know what they want to pursue. I think I am a testament to that because going through high school, I was a science student all around chemistry, physics, biology. I moved to Dominica State College where I was a triple major in physics, mathematics, but I also took economics because I felt like this might not be the path for me. I didn't know, like Mr. Joseph rightfully said. Um, I dropped physics while I was in Dominica State College and graduated with economics, mathematics. I moved on to Southeast Missouri, where I graduated in economics. So I'm like, okay, economics is definitely the way to go. And unknowing to me, that is not what I wanted to do. I'm in a finance field right now, and I feel like even now, after I get the paper, the bachelor's degree, I cannot come to Dominica and contribute how I would like to because my education has not ended. I am in the field of financial planning, and I believe right now is the time where I am learning the most in regards to financial advising, financial security, investments, and things of that nature. So I feel that although I have graduated and I would love to come home, um, there is no, I will not be able to have a meaningful contribution coming to Dominica right now. So I definitely want to equip myself properly in the financial realm, financial world. Definitely explore, learn as much in the field as I can because there is a lot to learn in the field. And then after I gain that experience over time, I will be able to come to Dominica and meaningfully have a contribution in my country.
Yeah, very well said, Zidane. Samantha, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations for yourself.
Okay, so my dream and aspiration right now is to further my education in accounting. So I know majority of the people who graduate, there are a lot of accounting graduates that might return to Dominica, some might stay. But if I return, we all have a bachelor's degree right now. So I want to further my education in accounting. And I also want to do my CPA exams, which is to get my CPA license in accounting. My other aspiration is to sponsor a child in the Wesley Primary School who may be going through any financial difficulties because I went to the Wesley Primary School. I was happy enough to have my mom and my other family members send me to school, but there are a lot of students whose parents cannot afford to send them to school and a little help out might be good for them. So I want to sponsor at least one child for the upcoming school year.
Oh, that's excellent. And then we're going to come over to Samika. And then, Lambi, we want to take some calls. And then, Simeon, I want to come back to you for your reaction because these are only four of our students. And I am just amazed by the amount of human resources that is already on display and the eloquence with which our students are presenting themselves. It certainly makes me very proud as a Dominican to see the level of critical thinking, the words that you use, Simeon, that our students are displaying and just the goals and aspirations. So let me go over to Samika and then Lambi, we will come over to you to take our phone calls for the evening. Samika, your goals and aspirations.
Okay, so as Lucky mentioned, I also utilize the OPT, and I chose to do that because I wanted to gain a little experience. Why I've never had experience before, and that is one thing I encourage young people. Please, please, please. Education is important, but having an experience or at least a little job experience in
Mhm. I think her phone rang and it froze her. Let's give her a minute. Go ahead, Samika. Try again. I
Can you
think
hear
she
me?
maybe. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, so yes. So that's why I was encouraging people, students, whether it is a summer job or anything, experience is important, especially when you want to transition into a career. Having that that experience can prove that you are you are determined and you have some level of qualifications within the labor force.
Mm-hmm.
Also, after my OPT, I plan to go back to school to further my education in law.
Mm-hmm. Yes, excellent. So let me come over to you so we can take some phone calls for the evening. And then Simeon, I want to come to you for your reaction to all the human resources that is on display right now.
Good evening. You're viewing or listening to Roots Connection right here on Q. Taking your calls. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, 305-432-9624. Let me run those numbers one more time. Numbers are 449-3095-96 and 97, 616-4257, 305-432-9624. We're standing by for your calls. Back to you, Simone. We're not hearing you.
I'm muted. I'm sorry. Thank you for that, Simeon and Lambi. Yes, so again, if you're just joining us, this is Roots Connections on Q. I am Simone Mathieu, and today we are congratulating and celebrating our 2022 students, the graduating class of 2022, and we're also looking at how can we maximize their potential, the prospects for maximizing their potential. So we've gone through a lot of the program already. Of course, if you've missed anything along the way, don't forget, you can go back on Facebook, you can go back on q95da.com, and you can catch the entire program. So in case you're wondering, our guest, Miss Samika Benjamin, the 2022 valedictorian at Grambling State University, Mr. Loik Hassan Charles, the first visually impaired Dominica to graduate with a bachelor's degree. We also have our educational expert, our educational consultant, Mr. Simeon Joseph, as well as Miss Samantha Bazil, who is graduating with a bachelor's degree in accounting, as well as Mr. Zidane Johnville, who's graduating with a bachelor's in economics. So as we await your calls, let us go ahead and see. I think we have a call coming in, so let's take that call.
Yes, we do. Caller, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Hi, Simone. I have
Hi.
been following your programs, and I just want to congratulate you on an exceptional job that you always do.
Thank you.
And I want to congratulate all the students who have graduated. I have a question because I heard someone called the queue one day and said that there were students in Dominica who were graduating from high school and there were not jobs for them. So as far as the students who would want to go back home, I would encourage that their job before they go back, because you do not want to go back and then you have to guaye, and it's just how things are right now in Dominica, and I am concerned for anyone who has attained their degree and then go back and there is nothing there. So make sure that the jobs are secured before you leave the United States.
Yes, excellent point. Thank you for the point, caller. If we don't have any more calls, let's take some of our Facebook comments. We have quite an audience. Laurel says, congratulations all. Ingrid Paul, great to see you. I see my mom, Medina Senhouse, is with us. Paul Matthew, great to see you. We have David Joseph also joining us. Doris Charles, I think she's calling out someone. Tina Bell is here. She says, good evening. Carol Simon, good evening to you. Hazel and Anthony. And notice Isidore is here. Marina Charles, Colson, Shillingford. So I want to thank everyone who is joining us. Alex Bruno says, great vibes. Keep it up, my sister. Thank you, Alex. Glow Simon, Mr. Joseph is in his element. Students, education, a good man at heart. I could not agree more. Sawana Fabian, Z, proud of you. Irvin Hamilton, Zidane, this is your physics and chemistry teacher. Congratulations. Oh, that is lovely. Thank you for being here, Mr. Hamilton. Keith Joseph, well done. Simone, Catherine, after working so hard, I hope you all get a good salary when you start to work and not NEP. Okay, I'm just reading the comments. I'm only reading the comments. Sharon Dorival, interesting. Irvin Hamilton, I think our high schools prepare students too much to pass an exam and not to learn beyond. Garv, Jeremy, it survives. Nice to see you. Thomason, I agree very much on the studies of critical thinking. I remember doing it during undergrad. Let's see. Tina says, firstly, congratulations to all the graduates. Well said, Simeon. Personal development seems to be lacking among many of our students, graduates. Also, more effort needs to be placed on transition orientation of students. It's like the saying, preparedness meeting opportunity. Glow Simon says, why would a country not cherish a brain like Mr. Joseph? Ministry of Education, go and look for all you advisor and fix the education system. Abby Christmas, always great to see you. Thank you again for recommending our guest this evening. She said, well done, Samika. Well said, Samika. Irvin Hamilton, Simone, when we were at Civicol, we did use English. We did use of English and used the book Critical Thinking. This book is no longer on the Civicol lineup, which is a big blow to modern students' mental development. Marshall Lawrence, great to see you. Good evening, Dr. Simone. Good program as always. 2 questions. Is civic education taught or being revived at school? And what percentage of students are into social studies, including politics, civil rights, constitutional and law-related matters? And we will put a pause here on the Facebook comments because, Simeon, I can imagine you have a lot to say based on that last comment in particular, and just based on the human resources we're looking at on the panel, Simeon, and there does not seem to be a clear path for them to return to Dominica at this point to make a valid contribution. So your thoughts, Simeon, and then panel, we will come to you to talk about your concerns for Dominica as young people. We want to hear from you, as well as your concerns for the Caribbean in general. So start thinking about those questions. Simeon, over to you.
Okay, so Simone, first of all, 3 things on that point. The first thing is, in terms of professional and academic development, there is never a clear path to anything. Okay, there are some persons who have started their bachelor's in one way, moved on to master's another way, and do a completely different doctorate in another field. So I think one of the things we need to capture about educational advancement is that it's dynamic. Okay, and especially again in 2022, professions are differing. There are a lot of needs that are developing. I'll share with you one thing. When I did my bachelor's in events management, it was just events management. In the past 2 years, I've had to do 3 other professional qualifications on hybrid events management, safety, and for epidemics and those kind of things that were never there 10 years ago. So I mean, we cannot sort of bottleneck the opportunities that young people will choose from, because education is a dynamic. gloomy with you. 2 weeks ago, because I'm a very data driven person, okay? I'm a very, I'm not somebody, I love existential reality, but I also like to deal with data, okay? So I purposefully picked up my phone and I said, I'm just going to call 20 students whom I knew were overseas to find out what were they going to do once they graduated. 20 young people whom I know. And one of the telling things that I can one of the telling things that I can share is this. Simone, 19 of the 20 young people whom I spoke to told me that they're not coming back to Dominica.
Wow.
That was very telling. So from a microscopic perspective, that 20 is just maybe a drop in the bucket from the large number. But I would love for somebody to do a survey on the number of students who have graduated, the number of students who are graduating, those who have come back to Dominica to work, and or those who have recently graduated or how many intend to come back to Dominica. So that raises many questions. That raises many questions. And this is a sobering reality that we have to embark upon and ask ourselves, why is it that there is no keen interest to return to Dominica? Could it be for professional development? Could it be for continuing education? Could it be for advancement in whatever field they are in? And I am happy to hear that the young people on the panel tonight all have also very, I would like to encourage them, because the fact that you have already mapped out in your mind what your next steps are, I think is highly commendable, and they must be congratulated for that. It means, therefore, that you have chosen not to be latent in your academic pursuits, because that can happen to some people, you know. And the caution I would like to give them is, in your academic pursuits, do not see your academic achievement as a chip on the shoulder or as some arrogant aggrandizement of having achieved some graduation and therefore you are above and better than everybody else. I'd like to caution against that, because that could be and can be the tendency sometimes. The sobering questions we have to ask ourselves is this: what is there for our young people? What are the employment opportunities? What are the professional opportunities? What are the occupational opportunities? How many of our young people have returned to Dominica and can't find a job, or, as you rightly said, have to end up in an NEP program or as some apprentice somewhere? Okay? And these are critical questions we must ask ourselves. And it goes back again to the whole thing I spoke about at the beginning of two things: human resource development and maximizing the potential of our young people. Because you see, I am sure somewhere sitting in the Ministry of Education or in the offices of the government of Dominica are the names of the young people who have gone away to study. My question then is, if you know every year you have sent so many students to study, what is the Ministry of Planning or the Ministry of National Development doing to ensure that in terms of our national development policy, we factor in, we make allowance, we cater for, we budget to the placement of these young people in the whole sphere of employment in Dominica? Or are we just sending them out just to say, as part of a political achievement, that we have sent so many students to study? What is the purpose in sending students to study if you cannot create employment for them, if you cannot create opportunities even for them to utilize their training and their learning in the different spheres of the country? Because when you look at it, okay, most of the students have done business. All right, fine. So what, and I'm happy to know that somebody did business or economics and sociology,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very
Yeah,
good
Zidane
um,
and
very
Loik.
good
Uh-huh.
thing that somebody could go into the physical planning department, for instance, or some area of government to assist. Okay. I heard somebody an entrepreneurship. These have,
Mm-hmm.
and even criminal justice. How are we catering for those disciplines to be factored into the whole employment base of Dominica? And again, the question must be asked is, if you are regularly sending students to study from a government perspective, what are you doing in the interim between they're going to study and they coming back to prepare a national plan for the re-engagement of these young people in their country? And that is where the maximization of potential comes in, because you do not want our young people coming back to the country and they have to twiddle their thumb. They have to have their hand under their chin. They have to be running everywhere trying to find employment. It makes no sense to me. And so that these are telling questions which we must ask ourselves. How is the business sector, not only government, how is the business sector in Dominica preparing its workforce to ensure that our young people who go to study can come back and be the economic advisors, the financial advisors to the different businesses? And we have a lot of companies in Dominica that are family owned with children who may not know anything about marketing or management or business management. But because it's family owned, their children are there managing those businesses, where you may have successful graduates who have gone overseas and do what, a financial analytics, I think, Samantha, you did, or some kind of thing like that, to come back and to
Accounting.
contribute.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to ask those pivotal, why we may ask these young people if they want to come back to Dominica. Do they have time? The question we have to ask ourselves in a nutshell is, what is there for them if they were to
Mm-hmm.
come back? What
And
opportunities are there for them? And these are pivotal questions which we have to ask, because we do not want our young people, having gone overseas for 2-3 years, undergoing all the strain and the stress and the frustration of study. And studying is not an easy thing. Okay?
mm-hmm.
Only to graduate and to come back and to have to sit down with no means of employment. Now, employment is not just a job. And
Mm-hmm.
that is where human resource development comes in, maximizing potential. Employment is allowing an individual an opportunity to hone in their skills, their knowledge, their talents, and their abilities, and to employ that base of knowledge, talents, abilities, and skills into their society for meaningful and gainful compensation. That is
Mm-hmm.
what employment is, not just a job.
Right.
It's allowing people who have learned, who have studied, who have gone through the goai, as the sway, the sleepless nights, the
Mm-hmm.
parents who have had to take loans and mortgage their houses to ensure that their students succeed, so that when they come back to Dominica, these young people can feel, okay, their country expresses, one, that they need them,
Mm-hmm.
that they feel that there is a space for them in their country whereby their dreams can be realized and their hopes achieved. These are the things we have to look at as we navigate our thought process into how can we ensure that our young people who have graduated from universities and college don't feel doomed, don't
Right.
have a
And
sense of gloom, as they seek to better their life, and
mm-hmm.
more specifically try to marry the experience and knowledge with the development of their country.
Right, and we must also not forget, Simeon, that while our students are away studying and they choose to continue studying overseas, there are opportunities that they can still contribute to Dominica. Look at how Samantha is talking about sponsoring a student in
And that's
Dominica. So
commendable, very
it
commendable.
is not one or the other. Even while they're overseas, they can lend their skills to Dominica. So it is not a black and white situation where they're gone and the human resources are completely out of Dominica. Through technology, they will be able to still make a contribution. So as we go around the room, I want to just check in with you and find out, we want to tap into your mindset. What are your concerns about Dominica? with regards to education, with regards to, the society as a whole, as we have you as young people here, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what are your concerns. For example, we see a number of murders recently in Dominica. So let's just have your thoughts on, the society of Dominica and any concerns you have. Loik, you want to start?
Yes. So some of the you said the concerns that we have in regards to moving forward, correct?
For Dominica, any
Well,
concerns?
yes, because in regards to in especially in my aspect in my for my situation, uh, being visually impaired, it puts me at a very disadvantaged position coming back to Dominica. Or so I feel, though I would love to, because the thing is, there's still a stigma as it relates to a visually impaired or differently abled or a person with a disability. Let's put it in layman's terms, that or this person may not be able to function fully in society, to put it bluntly, put it in a nutshell. That's what the general consensus seems to be. The belief is that someone who is disabled is someone who is basically supposed to be helped, cared for, and kept in, and but right now a lot of young persons with disabilities are much more, and even older persons with disabilities as well, are much more they have, thanks to technology and things like that, um have been able to move forward quite easily, transition into the world of the normal world, the outside world, the everyday world, and with various forms of technology, various new things that have come about, apps and things of that nature. Even when I was in school, there was a crosswalk on the street that I would walk up to. I would press the button and then it would count down. I would hear it counting down, and as soon as it says one, and it says you can cross or something to that effect. It makes all the cars stop, and then you cross safely. Like, even for things like that, is that's probably a stretch, but in terms of just simple acts of viewing a visually impaired person or a person with a disability differently as an employer, that's one of the biggest concerns I have coming back home, is being basically what you would call put in a box or viewed a certain way.
Yeah, that is certainly a concern I would have as well. Now, let me just ask you while you're at the mic, what would be your advice in terms of accommodating differently able people in Dominica? Because I think what we've seen traditionally in the past is what you've said, that people who are differently able are simply put in a box and they're not really taught to maximize their potential. So, what would be your advice for the powers that be in Dominica with regards to opening the field so that people who are differently able are able to provide more, are able to do more, are able to get better job opportunities, better training and educational opportunities? What would be your advice, Loik?
Well, I believe that it starts with, as you said, it starts at the top. So a lot of things, some of which I think can be done, would include trying to get training other individual who are already skilled in, for instance, different trades and so on, or what you, as for instance, you were speaking of education, as a primary example I gave earlier was with Birian, when they stated that when they took one of my teachers who actually went to study for Braille and then came back and taught me Braille. So that's a form of that's one of the, a lot of institutions, educational or employment or financial, whatever other institutions in Dominica may be able to acquire resources, or may already have the resources, may just need to tap into those resources to get special trainings, or special forms of technology in certain, like, for instance, if you would at a bank were to attempt hiring a blind let's say teller, you would look do the as a bank, is you would a blind seller would come to you and apply. The blind seller would come to you. More than likely, I as a blind seller would have to come to you with all the information as to, okay, here I'm a blind seller, but there's this and this software that I am able to use to do what I do, and so on and so forth. And the bank would have to then look into that, research into that, and see how they can then implement these various, whether it's a screen reader or whatever it
Mhm.
is, into that software, into the system to accommodate that employee. And at the end of the day, you can always, it's very easy as a business person to look at these things as liabilities, but at the end of the day, we there are costs and benefits for everything. You
Mhm.
can you cannot incur, you cannot reap without sowing. You cannot expect your business cannot grow if you choose to, you know keep your funds so close to your pocket for things that would possibly elevate your company in heights that you may never even vision. So
Right.
these are things that I look at when I look at ways that Dominica could advance into incorporating people as myself.
Right. And I also think it speaks to it in the same way that we have the Americans with Disabilities Act in here in the States, that we need something similar to protect people who are differently able in Dominica so that their resources are not simply put to the side and they're not limited. So, Zidane, as we come to you, what are your concerns as a young man from Dominica, and you look around and you see, a number of murders have recently occurred and lack of opportunities, that a lot of the young men are on the block, not being completely engaged. What are your concerns and what is your advice?
My concern for one is just the youth in Dominica. They don't have anyone to look up to. For one,
Hmm.
me being from River Street, I think everyone know that River Street has a reputation. Um, I think in my generation, I think I'm the only person that I grew up with in my area who went to university, and that just speaks volume. And it also speaks volume in regards to no one is going to the youth and finding out what they want to do. Growing up, I always knew primary school, high school, the quote unquote smart students did sciences, and that is an ideology that just needs to be thrown away. I did sciences, and I am in no way, shape, or form want to or will ever go back in the science field because that's just not my passion. I think that a lot of the young individuals are led astray because the people in position just don't take their time to understand the youth's passion. I
Right.
think if you understand someone's passion, you're able to help them, you're able to lead them into the right career. Because, like Mr. Joseph rightfully said, there are a lot of fields in which you could pursue your education on. Um, so I believe that leading the individuals into the careers that they want to have. Right now, I started a practice in Houston, Texas, as a financial planner,
Good for
contracted.
you.
Thank you, contracted under Northwestern Mutual. And when I was in high school, in no way, shape, or form would I have ever thought that I would be in the finance realm. Although that is where my heart has always been. So just understanding the youth's goals, their visions, where they want to be, where they want to pursue. Because a lot of careers in Dominica that people look down upon, they could be thriving businesses, carpenters, masons. I mean, we have a stigma in Dominica to where when you look at prestige when it comes to doctors, lawyers. No, we need to throw that away. We need to definitely grow from that stigma and give the young individuals a chance to grow in whatever they want to pursue as well.
Yeah, and Simeon is smiling because we've had this conversation before and it's a very important one. But Zidane, let me stay with you for just one more minute. And Samantha, I'm coming to you. Samika had to leave, unfortunately, but we're still going to continue this conversation because this is such an important conversation. So, Zidane, why was it different for you? Why weren't you not another one of the River Street boys who just followed the path? What broke you out of that mold to put you on a different trajectory? Because that is whatever formula you used to escape that environment, we need to duplicate that formula, not just for River Street but for every community in Dominica where we have way too many young men who are on the block being idle and not really having a productive life. So, what did it for you?
Just to reiterate my point, someone to just lead you. The person who led me was my mother, Gina
Right.
Paul, who is a teacher, primary school teacher at St. Martin Primary, and she was a person who just made me understood that hey, you need to find a passion. What do you? My mother always used to ask me, "What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do?" As a young individual, you're growing up. She never said, "All right, you need to do this or you need to do that." No, what do she? Even a day like today, where I'm starting my new career, I'm starting my new practice. It's a very entrepreneurial practice because it is a risk. However, even a day like today, starting out, she'll tell me, "What is that? Is that what you want to pursue long term?" And it just baffles me when she asks me, even a day like today, because she's been asking me that for the entire time. So I think we need to form groups, form mentorships in our communities to ask the young individuals, "Hey, what do you want to do?" Sometimes they might not want to be on the block. I can name everyone in my community who has a skill, the people who society looks down upon as oh they're on the block. No, these are very skillful people that I have grown up with and I have seen matured, yes, in their own ways, but they have skills. I think that we need to explore those skills and put them in right avenues to where they could also flourish. So just building that community, getting mentorship into our villages, and being able to ask someone, "What do you want to do?" I believe that mentorship is very ideal. Mr. Joseph spoke about he put a lot of light on the students, but we also need to put light on teachers. My mother is a teacher as well, and I know Mr. Hamilton is on Facebook Live right now. Mr. Hamilton was um, a, a building block for me in the chemistry and physics classroom because he wasn't just a teacher. He wasn't someone who was chemistry, physics. He had a passion, and he was able to relate that passion to his students. Dr. Sanford in State College, he had a passion. So I believe mentorship, being able to go to these communities and guide our youth because all they need is guidance. We are not bad students and we are not bad people. No matter where you come from, whether it's River Street like me or the affluent places in Dominica, we are all Dominicans. So mentorship for sure.
Yeah, I could not have said it better. And the importance of asking students, what would you like to be? And Samantha, I see you were nodding away because I think you agree that the focus should not be on, oh, if you're a smart student, you should do science. And if you're not so smart, you should do accounting like Samantha did. So, what are your thoughts on that, Samantha, as well as any other concerns for the young women in Dominica? And anything else you would like to share?
Okay, well, about the science and accounting, it's based on a person's passion because I have
Mhm.
seen students in school who they may fail English and mathematics, but they get A's in all the science courses. So I guess that's just their skill set. We might judge them because they failed the two main courses, but that's just their skill set. They can then go on to be one of the top scientists in the world, and we judge them before because they failed English and maths. But my major concern would be parenting. Education starts at home. Train a child in the way they should go, and when they get older they will not depart from it. So parents should really put a lot into their children. A lot of parents will just make a child, send them to school, and you make it based on the teacher. But early education starts at home. So you have to train the children manners at home, basic educational mindsets at home. They need to learn a lot from home that they can then bring out into the classroom. A teacher does a lot. Teachers have them for like 8 to 3 for like primary school, 8 to 1 for high school. But parents have to do a lot for their children. It says a lot for when they actually get into the real world, how they will react to certain things. I have to thank my mom. I was raised by a single parent mother. And there are a lot of people who are raised by a single parent mother. I'm not sure how she raised me, to be honest, but I turned out very well. If
I
you go into
agree.
the village of Wesley, they will say one of the students with the most manners. I would say good evening, good day to everyone. But that was what I learned at home. If I pass someone straight as a little child, I'd probably be punished when I get home. But that is what I was taught at home. So I believe it's based on what parents teach their students at home. And another thing, based on the incident that happened yesterday in Texas with the 19 students that died from the mass shooting, I said maybe we can, as Dominicans, maybe have more protection for our students at school. I mean, it may not happen to us in school, but we need to be a little more prepared.
I agree. And Samika, we want to come to you, but Simeon has to leave us in a little while. So I just want to come over to you, Simeon, for your final thoughts, anything you want to comment on before you leave us. And again, I want to thank you for always being readily available as our educational consultant to kind of just come on and give us some perspective and add more body to this conversation. So some of your final thoughts, Simeon, before you leave us this evening. You're muted.
Okay, well, first of all, Simone, again, I want to congratulate Samika, Samantha, Zidane. Are you named after the footballer Zidane?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And Loik, for
Also, apologize. Just to correct you, it's Loik.
oh Loik.
My
Yes, why
apologies.
would
Yes,
I?
sir.
But
Loik.
I should be the last person to
I've
mispronounce that,
I've
right?
been cringing all evening. I apologize. I wanted to say
Oh,
something right now.
sorry.
Well, thanks most certainly for that intervention. And Loik, I mean, I should be the last person to forget that, right? Exactly. So, but nonetheless, congratulations to you guys. I'm very impressed with you. I think there is great hope for Dominica. There's great hope for the world by you all pursuing your education and for succeeding. Some Samika being Student of the Year, Loik for your outstanding achievements in life, and Zidane and Samantha. And Samantha, I just realized I know you. I didn't know why I said I didn't know you. I threw my mind back. So my apologies for that. Small world, very small world. But nonetheless, I just like to say that congratulations to you all. The sky is the limit. I like to tell people that in terms of maximizing your potential, I developed a phrase: you have to reach deep down inside yourself and stretch way out beyond yourself in life. Always remember to reach deep down within yourself and stretch way beyond yourself so you can achieve your maximum potential. But in closing, Simon, I'd like to say that I'd like to agree with most of the students tonight, the graduates tonight, the young men and women, the gentle ladies and gentlemen, that a lot more can be done in our education system. And one of these days, maybe when we have to discuss the education system, a can of worms may be opened and volcanoes may erupt, but we might also have an expansive sea of opportunities for discussion because we need to critically look at our education system. While we are producing successful students, we need to ask ourselves what more can we factor in for education, because education is not only about academics, okay? It's not only about CXCs and common entrance and grade ones and grade twos. It's more than that. It's the development of the entire person. So we have to see how we can expand our approach to education in Dominica by ensuring that our young people, especially during secondary school, and Zidane mentioned two words: passion and mentorship, so that within the process of education, we can help our young people to identify their passion, hone in on the things that they are passionate about, so that they can identify the beacon for their academic journey. And as well, to be prepared to ensure that we have the right mentorship around, so that when they want to reach out, when they want to identify guidance to point out where they need to go or where they can go, it's there readily available. And I think our education system, particularly our secondary education system, needs to do more to help our young people to channel their thinking, their energies, their ambitions into a direction, not the right direction. The right direction can only be determined by them. Okay, only they know what's good for them. Only they know where they want to go. Sometimes, as adults, and I've heard many parents who tell their children, "That's what you should go to study. That's what I want you to become." That's
Mhm.
not what it should be. But we can help them to hone in onto what they would like to become and nurture that and help them to develop the skills, the aptitudes, the abilities for lifelong learning. So thanks for having me on the program. I'm sorry I have to leave tonight, but all the best and next time around.
Yes, and we truly appreciate you, Simeon. Thank you for always making time to be with us. And again, we look forward to the next time you're able to join us to continue the contribution, continue the conversation, and continue exploring opportunities in education. So, again, thank you, Simeon, for being with us, and you have yourself a wonderful rest of your evening. So, Samika, thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining us again. I know you were having some technical challenges, but when you left off, we were talking about concerns for young women, young men in Dominica. So what are your concerns as you look back and you look at the other young ladies coming up in Dominica? What are your concerns for Dominica in general?
Okay, in general, I know there is, well, around the young generation, we say, oh, we want to be our own boss, right? We want to open our own business, we want to be entrepreneurship. So we have this stigma that we should not pursue academic, we should not further our academic education. And I have friends, close people around my age group who have said that. And I just want to encourage people that education is essential.
Mm,
Not only as a skill or stuff, but when you go through universities, as I said, it has changed me. It has matured, not only in the classroom but outside of the classroom. So I encourage young people, please, to further your education, not just because you want to be an athlete or or open your business, that you should just throw in the towel. And also, I want to stress, I know, Loik, from a psychological perspective, in Dominica, we tend to shove it aside, oh, you should not open up about your feelings. And as young people, we suppress our certain emotions, and then after we explode, we combust, because therapy, is not really in our culture in the Caribbean. That's the reason why it has so much murder and stuff like that. These are underlying issues that we need to address. And as you said, it is murder. Now, allegedly, we have no idea what led up to that. As it said, it has something like intent. So
mhm,
I believe that that is something we should really look at. And as the dean said, it also has to do with mentorship and skills. Not everybody, I know I said that you should pursue your education, but not everybody is academically inclined. However, you can pursue a skill. You have people that are good in engineering, mechanics, and I think in college it also have a program where you can actually do that. A DSC, I'm not totally sure, but there are universities and schools out there that are also employing that. You can get a certification and you can find legal means of earning an income. So
mhm.
I encourage young people that it's never too late to give up on your dreams, and school age is nothing but a number. It's never too late. You can still do it. So not only young people, but the older generation, I know there I have met people, even people I graduated with. There was this lady in my criminal justice field. She started school in 2005 and she graduated in 2022. She graduated this year. And I was inspired by her story because she typed in our group chat and she was like, oh, she's so proud of an accomplishment. And that just proves that you can never give up. And I just want to encourage people in Dominica. I know we have this um it's thing that, oh, well, my time passed, or I too old for school or stuff like that. It's never too late. You can, and if you put your mind to something, you can accomplish it.
Yeah,
So
thank
a
you for
lot
that.
of
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have a call coming in. And then, guys, we want to come around the table just for your final thoughts as we wind down for the evening. So think about your final thoughts. Lammy, yes, we will take the phone call.
Yes, caller, please go ahead.
Yes, Lambi. I called earlier. It is really, an eye opener. I think for young people in Dominica to hear these young graduates, and the experiences that they have had going to college and university. And I just want to give kudos, especially to, is it Loik who has the disability?
Yes.
Right. Um, Whoever his parents are, I'm sure that they are overjoyed by his accomplishment. He has really broken that barrier, that stigma that we have in Dominica where we look down on, people with disabilities. I believe that he should be embraced by this present government because to me, he's an asset to Dominica and a role model to the young people. I really want to, congratulate each and every one of them, and I wish them the best, that they should continue to pursue whatever they want to do to be in life. Do not let anyone discourage you. Continue pressing on, and you will succeed. Have a good night.
Yes. Thank you, caller. Lambi, there's another call.
Yes, there's another call on the line. Caller, please go ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Lambi.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to Dr. Simons, and good evening to all the students.
Good evening.
I am calling to congratulate every one of them on their achievements, but a special congratulations to my neighbor Zidane. And Zidane, listening to you, I got goosebumps. I can hear myself listening to a very mature young man and not the juvenile I used to know next to me. So I want to really, really congratulate you on your achievement. And as I tell you, if I get goosebumps for your mother, I know your mother must have been very, very proud of you. I want to comment on what Zidane said about asking the young people what they want to do. And he also put a lot of emphasis on skills. Like they believe if you go to university and then you should be a doctor or maybe an accountant or lawyer or something like that. I want to share with you two stories. Growing up in St. Joseph, there was a young man, a gentleman, a Mathieu man, who was very skilled in making bamboo fish pots. In those days, a guy called Beausoleil, he was the kingpin lawyer in Dominica. Everybody who have a case and they want success, they used to go to Beausoleil. And sometime back, the people were somewhere talking about Beausoleil and how brilliant Beausoleil is. And the guy said, well, if you don't understand the part I can interpret, the gentleman said, if he tout savant Beausoleil là, il passe à faire en as bamboo. Do you all understand that?
Kind of.
Hello, do you all understand that?
Translate.
Translate for them because you have two West
he said
ladies
with
there.
all the intelligence Beausoleil has, he cannot make a bamboo fish pot because it takes skills to make a fish pot out of bamboo. That's the point the gentleman was making. And, and the second thing I want to share with you all, so Viv Richards on the 4th, between the 4th and the 5th of July, will be receiving CARICOM highest order, the order of CARICOM. And Viv Richards was a cricketer, as many of you would know from Antigua.
Yes.
And all 15-member CARICOM states agreed to bestow that honor on Sir Viv Richards. So Viv Richards was a doctor of medicine or a lawyer or what have you. So you don't really have to be an academia for you to excel. So you have your skill, and it is very important, as Zidane said, to ask the children what they want to do. Thank you very much, and pleasant evening to you.
Yes, thank you, caller. And so important, it really starts in the house because as we can see, The examples are right before us, that it begins at home. So let us just go around the room for your final thoughts as we wind down this evening. And of course, we want to jump on the Facebook Live for some of the comments that came in. So Samantha, let's start with you. What are your final thoughts this evening? And again, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here, for making such great contributions to this conversation. And I hope that we can engage with you again sometime in the near future. Samantha?
Okay, so for my final words, I would just like to thank the Almighty Father for bringing me this far. My mom, who has been my motivator from day one, my family members, my mentors, especially in Grambling State University. I became close to some people who have given me the best advice, so I want to thank them. To everyone, the government of Dominica, I have to give a shout out to them for the financial assistance that I received to go to Grambling State University. I am thankful for that. And Dominica State College for the transfer credits, that's also a big help. And to everyone, my teachers in the past, friends, and acquaintances, I just want to say thank you.
Yes, thank you, Samantha. Zidane?
Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for having me on your panel. For one,
Yes.
I rather not speak on myself. I just want to urge um, individuals in communities of in Dominica, if you feel like you are in a position where you could help the youth, please help the youth. When I was in college, I was in Miss Ashma McDougall's class. I did a research paper on the illicit drug trade on Dominica, the impact that it had. Surprising to me, the biggest impact that the illicit drug trade had on Dominica was not crime or anything negative, but it was in fact financial. The illicit drug trade in Dominica has a big financial impact on Dominica. So that just goes to say there is potential in the quote unquote blocks that Dominicans, the Society of Dominica, likes to put a blind eye on. Please elevate our youth in communities where there is no elevation. Because believe you me, it is a struggle growing up in these communities, but there are potential. So please do not turn a blind eye on our youths, especially those who are in communities that you tend to throw a blind eye on, like River Street, where I grew up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zidane. Thank you for that. Loik, your final thoughts?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I would just, like to also take the road of not necessarily speaking on myself, but I would like to urge Dominica as well to be very have an advocacy stop, be very mindful of the advocacy levels of the disabled community, because this is a um where right now we're in 2022, we're in the 21st century. A lot of things have changed. A lot of the old stigmas and the old views need to also change, and a lot of work needs to be done. A lot of work has been, attempts, talks have been made for years in the past of works beginning to be done or thinking of being started. But let's no more just start speaking, or let's stop speaking and let's start acting towards a change in regards to being a more inclusive society, especially as it relates to persons with disabilities.
Thank you so much, Loik. Thank you for that. Samika, your final thoughts?
Okay, my final thoughts. Thank you for having me, first of all. Thank God for everything. And I just want to reiterate that if you are given an opportunity to pursue an education, please take it. Please take it. I know Zidane stressed about your skills and stuff like that. But even if it's a free, like, to pursue your further in your education, especially in the thing that the government has going on. I was also a recipient as Samantha, and thanks, shout out to them. I would also encourage people, even though it might not be something you learn in the classroom or out of the classroom, you will learn something, guaranteed. You will further your character, develop your mind, become mature, be independent, and it opens you to a new diversity, a new culture, especially in the United States. As Mr. Joseph said, there's way more than just Dominica. There's a whole lot of opportunities out there. So Once
Well,
again, thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you, Zidane, thank you, Loik, thank you, Samantha, thank you, Samika, Simeon, thank you, everyone, for being here. And so, Dominicans at home and abroad, here you have it, our human resources on display. So, I think we have a lot to do with regards to being able to tap into these young people. And I certainly like what Zidane said in terms of asking our young people, what are you interested in, rather than trying to cajole them into particular fields and then having them reject what you're trying to push them into. Did you want to say something, Amsterdam?
I'm sorry, just one more point.
Yes,
Very small
please.
point. I'm glad that, first of all, Mr. Senval, thank you. I'm glad that Mr. Senval posed a question. The caller that just called, there are 4 young individuals here right now, graduated from the island of Dominica. He asked to translate a phrase that he said in Patois. If you realize none of us were able to translate, please
Oops.
do not kill Patois language. I'm from Roseau. I was not fortunate enough to learn the language. Please, the individuals from Dominica, the grown-up folks who know the language, please pass it on to us, pass it on to the youth, because I do not want that language to die. Right now, in my older years, I'm picking up on some words, but I wish that I would have gotten the opportunity to learn that language from a very young age from grown-up individuals in my community, in my home especially. So please do not let patois die. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Zidane. And it's so interesting that you said that, because we actually do a Creole program on Facebook Live. So please be sure to follow Push Past 10 on Facebook so you can join in the conversation. And the thing about Creole is the more you speak it, the easier it becomes. So I think most of us actually know the language, but we just feel a little bit embarrassed to try to speak it because we're afraid that we may not sound right or it may not come out right. So we actually know a lot more of Creole than we do. And I learned Creole on Facebook Live. So don't forget to follow Push Past 10 so you can be a part of that conversation as well. So thank you everyone for being here. Let us go over to Facebook. Of course, we want to thank our Q95 listeners who join us on the radio. We want to thank the Q95 family. Lamby, thank you for taking the calls. Sherwin Norris for keeping us connected. Mr. G and the rest of the family. Let's see. Facebook. Catherine says, in my opinion, Dominica has no opportunities for these young graduates. They will be better off finding employment where they are. Sean George, nice to see you. Let's see who else is here. Glenda Shillingford, always lovely to see you. Adrian Green, good night. Nice to see you, Adrian. Let's see who else we have. Catherine says they will not return because after spending so much money for their education, when you return, you can't find a job, or the one you get, the pay is too low for your qualification. Mr. Hamilton says, oh, go have to shake their pampalam. Oh, Lord, I'm just reading the messages. To those, I won't use that word, in government, get a job. Young people, stay where you all are. David Joseph, good to see you. Very interesting piece of information by Mr. Joseph, because recently similar sentiments were expressed by Dr. Thompson Fontaine about our students not wanting to come back home after studying abroad. He was taken to task by Dr. Damian Dublin, who claimed that there was no data to support such a claim. Well, now you have the evidence right in front of you, right? Because I don't think any of the students have concrete plans for returning to Dominica as of now. Palm Wiltshire says, be proud of you selves, guys. Blessings to you. Keith Joseph, nice to see you. Doc, in addition to Mr. Joseph's question, how many return students that are established workers, young folks, be careful of the decisions they make to come back home? My advice to you all, David Joseph. Let's see, we are winding down very quickly. Let's just take a couple more comments. Everyone wants the opportunity to elevate themselves, especially our young people in Dominica at present. It is extremely difficult for young people in Dominica to move forward. Many of our young people are sitting home in Dominica who are highly qualified, but there are no opportunities available to them. These are cold, hard facts. So let's take some comments from someone we have not yet already heard from. Deborah, yes, Zidane is very mature. I agree. It is very important to ask students what they want to do. As a middle school preparatory college teacher in America, these are important conversations I have with my students. I'm amazed with all the panelists. Congratulations on a job well done. Rhoda, very great and encouraging program, especially to young people who have no hope and are on the verge of giving up. Loik, you are a great testimony to persons who think they cannot achieve their goals. Ingrid Paul, I see you. Good evening to you. And one more comment before we wind down. Ingrid says, thank you, Simone, great program. And Magdalene says, they do have a bright future. Congratulations, young people. So I think that Magdalene said it best. Congratulations, young people. Thank you for being here. The sky's the limit. Keep the universe open. That would be my recommendation. Remain open to the universe and what is out there for you, and the possibilities are endless. So here we are at the end of the program. Again, I want to thank you for joining us for episode number 25 of Roots Connections on Q with Simone Mathieu. Today, we discussed the graduating class of 2022, the prospects for maximizing their potential. So as our time comes to an end, we wanted to let you know that we will continue having these conversations. We will continue tapping into the expertise of our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and abroad to explore practical and concrete recommendations and also to provide hope. Because I think one of the things we are seeing more and more with these programs, especially when we have young people like you with us, is that there needs to be hope. Our young people need to know that there is an opportunity, there is a possibility that their lives will be able to move forward in a positive direction. So again, we want to continue to encourage you to be on q95da.com, where you can listen to the programs, you can watch the programs, and also don't forget to follow Q95 FM Radio on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Push Past 10 on Facebook. So again, thank you everyone for being here, and we can all unmute our mics as we say farewell. Good evening. Thank you, Lambi. And everyone have a wonderful night until we meet again. And by the way, the next episode, June 8th, I will actually be in Dominica. Yay! So I am looking forward to engaging with maybe some folks, maybe on the topic of sustainable development, but we will see how it all works out. So again, unmute your mic and good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure. Great program.
Thank you so much.
For the
Pleasure.
panelists
Thank you.
and the listeners, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right.
You too.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Joe! Rastafari.